Powered by Dr. Podcast, your audio factory, turning ideas into a signature sound.
Today we have with us Gad Elmaleh, who is many things. He is a man who takes notes on black books. He is an actor. He is a stand-up comedian. He is the author of a recent film called Stay With Us, which is very interesting and we will talk about later. Gad was born in Morocco in April 1971, studied in Casablanca. He was not so keen on studying. Nevertheless, he went to Montreal, and there he studied for 4 years political science. I don't know if he only studied because he also wrote numerous stories and played also in nightclubs, and he worked on the radio. I mean, this is more or less Gad, who then started his real career from 1992 in Paris, where he went to study le Cours Florent, and then he wrote and performed his first real one-man show called Décalages, and then his career started, and we have many, many stories to tell. Are you still happy about your choice?
Wow. When you were saying all this, I was just traveling back in the day and thinking about Morocco and wow, am I happy about the choices? Yes, a lot of journalists, they say, oh, if you had to do this again, would you do it the same way? It's all obviously no. I would not do it the same way. This is a stupid question always they ask, but I would maybe keep the genuine way of looking at life and passion. And when they ask me, why did I do comedy and why did I want to make people laugh? And really, like often when young people come up to me and want to do stand-up comedy and they're like, oh, do you have an advice? And I'm like, if you want to do it, this is not really interesting. But if you need to do it, this is great. Because comedy, you need it. You need to make people laugh. That's how you're going to make people laugh, because this is a language. This is a way of looking at life, so.
You made your parents, your sister, your brother, the other students laugh, even before knowing that you were becoming a comedian or an author?
Yeah, Alain, there was this thing that I discovered years later, and actually recently, I talked to my mom. We got really close, and then she said something that was really moving. She said, whenever there was something sad in the house, in the family, whenever I would get in a fight with your dad, or your brother did not do good at school, or your sister would do something, the first thing you would do was making all the family laugh so we don't fall into some sadness. And I found it really interesting that was kind of a defense for me, that I would make people laugh, to be like the performer, a kind of anesthesie,
So in other words, you think that people, in the real nature of people, even if there are so many sad news all over the world and disasters and problems and illness, I mean, people like to laugh.
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit Jewish too, I have to say. Because I am Moroccan, but I'm also Jewish. And I think when we talk about humour juif, like Jewish sense of humor or Jewishness, it's a way of and having this double culture, because I am also Arab from my culture and born in Morocco. I speak Arabic. Having those two sides made my comedy. And my comedy is Sephardic, means it's Jewish, but it's also Arab. It's also this kind of hybrid, and I like it.
And people loved it in France. But then, is it because you are ambitious or particularly ambitious? Is it because the English language is so important? But you had a model, another person who was doing the job you do, who's Jerry Seinfeld. I don't know if he's your hero, your master, your friend. He became your friend, which is quite unique. I mean, you brought into America in English your repertoire. I mean, you created new stories, new events, and you had your shows in English. Why?
Listen,
because you thought that French was not enough, and you wanted to have a universal language.
Probably, but the less than a strategy was more kind of a challenge. I started over, basically. Yeah, I was very known in France. This was only 5 years ago when I went to America and did this whole project. I'm not going to say I was bored or something, but it's just I was becoming famous with the comedy, happy with it. And then I wanted and I needed something that could really challenge me. Obviously, there is this American Dream that, by the way, that's the name of my special on Netflix in English called American Dream. And I wanted to do it in English because this is not my mother tongue, because this is a huge challenge, because my model, Jerry Seinfeld, is really my real hero. And I wanted to kind of look like him. That's funny because a few years ago, I was accused by the press of stealing joke from Jerry Seinfeld. And I said to a journalist, I didn't steal only jokes from him. To be honest with you, I would like to have his life, his wife, his kids, his intelligence, his money, everything of Jerry Seinfeld. And he became a friend. He's a brother. We spent vacation together with families. We share a lot of things in common. And he's really a model. He's so exigeant. He's so strong. He's so powerful. You know, like in the art or in literature, you have those artists or performer or artists who are very minimalist. And he is in comedy what we call minimalist because he always says comedy is simple, but it's not easy.
You have obviously a Jewish, Arabic and background and repertoire and French, but in your American tours, you talk about America too. I mean, you understand America.
Yeah, I make fun of them. And also, to be honest, I talk about being Moroccan, but more about coming from France. Not that it's easier to market. I make fun of that because I'm so proud of my Moroccan roots and origins, but it's always fun to make fun of Americans about the way they look at France and all the cliches they think and what they think about us. And then I make fun of them. I look at them. But what's great with the American audience, what I think with stand-up, they're so used to it that they have this sense of self-deprecation and sarcasm. It is okay to make fun of them. And I would go every night in comedy clubs, starting over for $100 every night.
Is it true that you, in English, you write your repertoires instead in France you improvise?
Oh, yeah. Alain, you know what? I would go sometimes to some comedy clubs. Those clubs in New York City, you go in the cave, you know?
You
And
like that?
I love it. This is my gym. This is where I box. This is where I improve. So I would go there. I remember the first time I did a set in English. I said, hello, everyone. Just so you know, everything I say right now is scripted. So please don't interact. I cannot interact with you guys because I need to script everything. And that was true. Like every word I would say was scripted. In French, 2 days ago, I was in Provence. I started my show because it was a center stage. There was audience in front of me, on the side, and in the back. I improvised for 10 minutes about how am I going to do this show for 4 audience. And I did a whole body language, a slapstick number set. I cannot really do this in English. Maybe I'll be able to do it in a few years. I don't know. Maybe I'll stop doing this. How long can we make people laugh?
The American audience is more difficult than the French audience? No?
I don't think so. They're used to the comedy. They know very well what it is. They know very well stand-up comedy. They invented it, actually.
I mean, I know you have a notebook, a black notebook and a pen, and you love to write down your
Yeah.
What do? You look at people, you watch them,
I
you
look at
listen to
people,
them.
I talk to them. When we met, you and me in Italy, I went back to my hotel and I wrote down a few things about you that were really funny, and they're going to be in my next show. It's just...
You said that I don't laugh, but
you make me laugh.
You laugh.
You laugh. But you're so confident that you don't need to laugh to please people.
You want to please people, right?
That's my problem. But I want to stop doing this. I found out, I'm 53 years old, and I found out finally this year that I can be loved without performing. My God.
How do you perform?
This is my language, you know, because I am a very shy person, in fact. And I was always been. And comedy helped me so much to get in contact with people. And I really do think that it's a language.
You have two boys, right? You have
Yeah.
Noah, who is older, and
Yeah.
Raphael, who is
Raphael.
younger. Two different girlfriends or wives,
Yeah.
and two boys.
Yeah.
How do they look at you? I mean, you had a father who was a mime,
Yeah.
and you have a brother actor, a sister writer. I mean, you come from a creative family anyway, and your mother, Regine, is also a very special woman. But
Yeah.
what do your children say? Normally, you have a father who's a doctor, who's a lawyer, who's a workman, who's a plumber. I mean, how do they react to have a father who makes people laugh? You make them
Yeah.
laugh?
Yeah, that's funny because they're so different. My two boys are so different. My little one, Raphael, wants to be funny. He wants to always find a joke, and he makes like comments about my work and say, Dad, maybe you should say this or that. And sometimes he wants to do this with his friend, and he loves it. He wants to make people laugh. He's kind of imitating his dad. I would say, honestly, I feel his love of me making people laugh, where the other boy, very smart, giving me great notes about my comedy, but was more embarrassed about his funny dad. Like when we were, sometimes, Raphael, we go to dinner to some friends and he's like pushing me, Dad, make the joke of this, bark like the dog, do the thing. Are they going to like it? Do that. Like he loves it. He wants to be a partner. And Noah is very smart. He loves comedy, but more interior, more like making like some comments about my comedy. And he's not a performer, even though he's a creative guy and music composer. But Raphael is a performer. And sometimes he waits for me in the dressing room after the stage and says, oh, this joke was strong. This one was not great tonight. He likes to make comments.
To do your job, you need a great memory. I mean, to memorize a lot of things, or they come, each comedy has a different name, right? So there are different stories. How do you repeat these stories? How do you remember all of that?
So I would say this is
How
not
much in Décalages or La Vie Normale, or other shows?
Whenever I'm asked, this is not the tough part for me because I write my material. I work sometimes with my sister, Judith, who's a writer, and she's very funny. So we write together. But when you write your own material and you start performing in front of an audience, and it makes sense, like you develop the whole logic with all the rendezvous, of laughters, like where it hits. You cannot really forget, like if it's a play of Shakespeare, Molière, or a line in a movie, your material, where you're going. I would say that this is not the most difficult part. The most difficult part is having every single night the same energy and desire, which honestly, I can say it now, I don't have it all the time. But as soon as I go on stage, I have it. But
it's the adrenaline.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't want to go on stage. I'm like, I'm 53. Am I going to go again, make jokes? What is that?
But what are you talking about in your shows? I mean, do you have a main subject? How do you change?
So in my new show, I thought really that I need to talk about what I experience in life, that we should stop moving, changing places, changing houses, changing people, changing diets to be happy. And I think we can be happy with what we have inside. Might sound like a banalité, but no, this is really what all my show about. I talk about my friends who wants to travel, go so far away to find happiness. No.
Can you give me a sentence of that just to understand?
I don't know. I'm talking about my best friend who said, j'ai besoin de me retrouver. I need to find myself. And I'm going to India, he said to me. And that's a real story, actually. I said, bro, if there's really one part of the world, or maybe you're not going to find yourself, it's India. It's big. There are a lot of people. It's very interesting, but be aware that. So I try to transform those phrases that we hear all the time, and also try to understand that we have inside of us happiness. I talk about money, which is a big taboo in France, okay?
People don't like to talk about money.
It's where sex is taboo in America. I would say we have the same in France with money. But I finally wanted to talk about money in France. So I started a joke by saying this stupid, l'argent ne fait pas le bonheur. Money won't make you happy. And I said to the crowd, money won't make you happy. And then I say, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that because I have money, I can say that. And I go, yeah. So I know what I'm talking about. So please listen to me. And I develop with that of this absurd, why couldn't we talk about money? And then from there, I go to something more serious about, yeah, actually, this is not what's going to make us happy. And then I go on and on about it. But it's all about the new show. It's all about how can we be happy, feel better. Le mieux vivre, live better. Everyone wants to live longer and better, and the diet and hug trees and vegan and go to seminary and retreats and silent retreat and juice and walk and yoga. Everyone is trying to do something. Relax. It's inside of you. The juice is not going to make you happy. I have a whole thing about it. So that's what I'm talking in my new show.
Okay, but you are also acting in movies. You worked with Woody Allen in Midnight in Paris.
Yes.
You worked with Spielberg in The Adventures of Tintin. I mean, you did also other movies with Francis Weber, The Valet, for instance. Yeah. I mean, do you like to perform in films? Do you like that, or you prefer the scene? Or both of them? I don't know.
To be honest, I used to have an answer when I do an interview that was not really honest. And I would say, it's like asking to a mother which kid she preferred. That's bullshit. Because if I'm really honest, I prefer going on stage. I love doing movies, but the excitement, the adrenaline, as you said before, the madness of the live performance, there is nothing I found in my life that can equal and get to the same level of intensity. No alcohol, no drugs, no sex, no good news. Nothing is as strong as a good joke that lands and make a whole crowd laugh.
Before I ask you another question, can you just make me laugh with a joke briefly?
That's terrible. That's
No,
it's okay. I have two kids, as you said. One is 10 and the other one is 23. So the gap is big. So the energy is sometimes difficult when you go in vacation because 10 and 23, it's not the same energy, the same interest. There is one that is always crying, jumping in the pool, doesn't want to go to bed, doesn't want to brush his teeth, doesn't want to sleep, doesn't want to wake up. And the other one is 10. Thank you, David.
Okay, so
there's going to be a new test for comedians. They perform a joke in front of Alain Elkann. It's going to be called the Alain Elkann contest. If you make him laugh, it means you will make laugh the whole planet.
Okay. But
if Alain laughs at a joke, means with the regular audience, you will have a standing ovation.
You said, Phil, you prefer to perform lively, which is more in you, in your DNA, but you recently made a film called Stay With Us.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a very special film because, first of all, most of the cast is made by your own family. It's a family story that you invented, but there is you, the main character, your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, and they play in the film as actors, right? They're not actors playing them, they play themselves. And then you have a rabbi, Delphine Orvieler, who is acting, and then there is a priest, and so on and so forth. But the idea of the film, and many people said, oh, God has changed, what happened to God, is that you want to convert. You come back from America, and you want to convert to Catholicism.
Yeah.
Right? And your main worship is the Virgin Mary. You're not talking much about Jesus, but a lot about the Virgin Mary. And your mother discovers in your suitcase, when you're not there, a little statue of the Virgin Mary. And this creates a huge problem in the family. What's going on? Do you talk to him? Did you talk? Why? Why did you want to tell this story? please reassure or inform people if you convert to Catholicism or not.
Or disappoint. No, I haven't converted. The reason why people thought about it, because I was really, really, my interest, my fascination, my curiosity was genuinely sincere. And my love for my brother and sisters who are Catholics and who I made the movie with. But, you know, some people who they haven't seen the movie when they say I converted. So I haven't converted, but I've always been really, really interested in Christianity. Why? Because in this movie, there is a part that is real and true, and there is a romance, there is a script, there is a story. It has to become a movie. So the story is very simple. The story goes like this. I'm a kid, I'm 5, 6 years old, born and raised in Casablanca in Morocco in a Jewish Sephardic family, not religious, but traditions, prayers, synagogue. I speak and read Hebrew. We do Shabbat at home. And every day my dad would tell me, pointing a building in our neighborhood, attention, don't ever get into this building. And I didn't even know what was this building. And it was a church, because this is a sin. Obviously, this is forbidden in the religion, but beside the religion, it was like superstition. Don't get there. It's going to be a disaster. And then afraid of Christianity. And then I'm a kid. I'm 6 years old. The only thing I want to do is go in there. So I push the door and I face the statue of Virgin Mary. I was with my sister and I'm in tears. I don't know why. I'm just so emotional, and I think it's so beautiful. The smell is good. It's quiet. It's beautiful. And from that day, I was thinking about this lady and this place. And from that story, I told the whole movie about me becoming Catholic and blah, blah, which doesn't happen in the movie. But most of Jews who think I converted, they haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, but you normally and this is an example that you just said, or since a kid, you like to do things that you're not supposed to do.
This is why I did the movie. This is why also it was kind of a provocation also. I'm not crazy. I'm not stupid. Obviously, I know that a story of a Jewish man who wants to convert to Christianity is going to make the Jews freak out. But that was the story. One day, a woman in Paris in the street said, but this is a catastrophe, what you did for the family. I said, but madame, this is a movie about the catastrophe of a Jew who wants to become a Christian. I think this is the most terrible thing that can happen in a Jewish family. Honestly, let's name things. A coming out, saying to your family, coming out as a gay person would be easier than say to your parents, I'm becoming Catholic in a Jewish family.
But also to say, which is strange, because nowadays there are a lot of problems between Muslims and Jews. I mean, all what is happening in the Middle East and all that, and even in France, still you say, or your sister says in the film, that it would have been different if you said, I'm becoming a Muslim.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were raised in a Muslim country.
Okay, that's a line from the movie. I'm not sure it's going to be easier if someone becomes a Muslim more than Christian, but it's a line from my best friend in the movie because he's so stunned and shocked by the fact that my character, and I say my character, is going to become Christian, that he's like, oh, at least you would have become, I don't know, Muslim. It's logical. We speak Arabic. We were born in Morocco, and for him, it was logical. But I think it's also the perception would have been very, very bad also, you know. I have to mention also that we grew up in Morocco where, and it's good to say this at this moment now, where we going through a tragedy, you know, in Middle East on both sides, really tragedy, that we experienced such peaceful relation and fraternity in Morocco with Jews and Muslims. This is quite unique in an Arab country.
Would you like, or did you already? You said at the beginning that when you were a child and there was a fight in the family or the beginning of a fight or something bad going on, you were the one, because you make people laugh, that you were repairing things. Do you think that if you would perform in front of an Israeli and Palestinian audience together, you could make both laugh about the same things? And would you like to do that?
I would love that. I'm in contact. I'm pretty much connected to the Israeli comedy world and the world, and from the Palestinian side and Israeli. I know them. They are my friends. I talk to them. I talk to Israel Katorza, who is the most famous comedian in Israel. I talk to Adi Khalifa, who is a great Palestinian comedian. And I think it would be amazing if we can bring together comedians to make people laugh together. This is what we have in common, and we can. I'm not saying it's going to change and solve the problems, but if we can make this happen, yes, I would love that. I would love
Maybe
that.
you should convince our common friend Amos Gitai, who
Wow.
tries to put together in his movies actors, Palestinian actors, Israeli actors, and French actors together. Maybe you could try to do that
I
with
think that
him.
would be amazing. And also to make a laugh with this. That would be
No, that's right.
amazing.
So, because as you said, it is a tragedy, right? What's going on. But laughing is very strong in life, right? If it comes, it's irresistible. Maybe people of different political ideas,
Of
different
course.
things, if something is really funny, they all laugh.
You become like a kid. You're vulnerable. And one of my teachers at the acting school would say this great thing, and he was into tragedy and drama. But he said, what's wonderful with comedy, when you make people laugh, the second they start to laugh, like with instinct, their heart open. And then he said, but your responsibility to put something there and to put something good there, because you can make people laugh with many subjects. But if you can make those people laugh together when they open your heart, that would be great to put this peace and loving feeling. I would love that. But I think it would be great to talk to Amos about that, to Sameh Zwabi also, who is an Arab, Israeli Arab director that I love. That would be great.
Do you think that the fact that Jews love to tell jokes, about themselves, criticizing themselves,
Yeah.
joking about their own weaknesses, and they love that. You think this
That's
is one of the gasolines that make them survive for so many years? I mean, this idea of humor.
Man, this is really so strong, and this is so gasoline. I like this. I like this word. Yeah, it's a power. It's how they survived. And honestly, when I hear jokes, sometimes coming from people who suffered, and when I hear Jewish humor, I'm like, thank God we have this. Thank God it helps, it heals more than it helps. It's healing. And when you have people who suffered that authorize themselves to be self-deprecating, oof, everyone relaxes. Sometimes you're like, yeah, we can do that. Okay, we have the right to laugh about this and that. And that's why I love Jewish humor. It's amazing.
You perform in America, you perform in France, you perform in Australia, you perform in England, in other countries. Do you think that in all these countries, in the same way, they appreciate this kind of jokes, this kind of humor?
I think self-deprecation is something pretty universal. And as long as you're vulnerable, but honestly and sincerely, people don't want to see a comedian who is really comfortable with himself and a hero. This is not interesting. Comedy is about how this man, under the spotlight in front of 5,000 people, talk about his weakness, his fears, his disability, his bancal, like awkward things, neurosis. That's what they love. And as long as you're sincere with that, it takes time and it takes work for that. They love it. They love it.
And how was it for a person like you who are so Jewish? I've seen images in your film, Stay With Us. We really see your father, your real father. He's an
Yeah.
actor, but he's himself, blessing the Shabbat, the Saturday evening. You say that sometimes when you can, you go to synagogue and all this. You are completely Jewish. You denied the conversion, which was just the movie stay with us. But in the movie, we see very much how your family, yourself, you keep on doing the traditional Jewish thing, like Friday night meal, and the father who's blessing the bread and the wine. You go to synagogue with your father, and therefore you're very Jewish, let's say, right? Sephardic Jewish, as you said. But in the same time, for instance, your second son is the son of the royal family of Monaco, right? So that's a completely different world. How does your son feel, and how do you feel? Was it a difficult experience? Was it?
No, because
You don't pretend not to be Jewish, I mean, to forget that you're Jewish and be
I
assimilated.
mean, do you
And
think do you
no,
think you can you
no, I know,
it's
but
impossible.
you don't perform, as if it didn't matter. You're completely Jewish. I don't know if you're proud, but at least you do it.
Of course.
You have no problems, even in these difficult moments where the Jews have difficult time in France. You still talk, do, and so on and so forth. Was it difficult to mix it with the Monaco royal family?
Not
And
at
you have a
all,
son
because
who's
first
both.
of all, I am not the first. I'm not the first person or the first Jew in the world who have a kid with someone who is not Jewish. But I think as long as each one respect the faith of the other one, it's a treasure. C'est une richesse. How you say c'est une richesse? You get even stronger. My two sons, by the way, they have a kind of a double identity, and they know about both. And I want to give them, and to my son who comes to my parents' house for Shabbat, and he's super happy to see that this is part of his dad DNA and story, and he's part of it too. But I've always thought about that you cannot ask from your spouse, wife, partner, fiance, something about your identity and not accept the other identity. It has to be something strong together. Honestly, I've never felt embarrassed about that. It's more a richesse, it's more a strength than, oh my God, we should not say this or that. No, no, not at all. He loves being with my parents. Like, my mom can't wait to cook for him for Shabbat. And, that's great. That's amazing. And I think it was something that is a strength than a problem.
Because you said in an interview many times, I love mixing.
Yeah.
This is very much part of you, right?
Totally. And also going like to surprise. And actually, that's true what you said before about doing what's kind of forbidden, or doing what's I've always been like that, like to be not
supposed to be. The things that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah. And the person that I'm not supposed to be. And then I've always been like that, not to provoke, but kind of a reaction to, the order and I don't know, that's the way I am.
And after so many years, you still enjoy the same. I mean, you still enjoy what you do very much. You said that some evenings, of course, you're less. Obviously, maybe you don't feel in the mood or whatever, but everybody is like this, no?
Listen, I have a show in a few days. I can't wait, because I need it. My body, my mind, my soul need it. I need it. Even my body. I have pains because I need to go on stage. I have little things because I get old, obviously, but also because I don't perform enough these days. And my brain, I think comedy, if you don't practice a lot, you can see it when you see comedians and you're like, oh, they get rusty. This is not good. It's a muscle. I believe in the comedy muscle. I believe in something that is, I need to train. I need to do more. I need to try a new joke. I need to stay always sharp. I need to be sharp.
Are you going to go back to America to do other shows, or
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure. I want to be better at what I do in French. I want to do my tour starting next week in Lyon. I'm going to be in Lyon on Tuesday, and then starting a big tour for 1 year, ending end of 2025. And
1 year in France?
France, Quebec, Canada, Belgium, Switzerland, and some Francophone territories and France. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of shows.
But they say that 75% of the French language is spoken in Africa, in some African countries.
I'm going to be there too.
Are you going to be there too?
North Africa, of course, my home, Morocco, and also some countries in Africa. I'll be performing in a few countries. Yeah, the tour is pretty big, but that's right. You would be surprised how many French-speaking people are in America too. That's amazing. A lot of. I did shows in French in America. And it was amazing. Not only expats, people who would just, love French and learn French. And I want to dig into that and become an artisan. I want to be better at what I do.
In the news, in what goes on in the world, you have a lot to say, right?
I have a lot to say, and I have also a lot of people to kind of heal. People are suffering now, and I think comedians are doing a great job to make them feel better, and we need to put people together. In my audience, I have Jews and Muslims laughing together, Christian and whatever. I need to do that. This is what we do, in our way. And I think really making people laugh is a great thing, but also is a therapy for a lot of people who these days are suffering.
There is an Hebrew word that's mitzvah. Could you explain the word mitzvah? Because what you just said somehow is that to make people laugh is like a mitzvah.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm not a rabbi, but from what I know, and I studied, the mitzvah is...
You studied in a yeshiva.
Yeah, I studied.
So you should know.
There are 613 mitzvahs that we are supposed to do.
But we found a new one.
But not a new one, because actually I can't remember exactly where, if it's in the Talmud, in Mishnah, Gemara, or in the Torah. It's written there that people who make people laugh will go to Olam Haba, to the Le Monde Futur. For sure.
So you're preparing the future every night all around the world, right?
Yeah. But more than a mitzvah, and I like to hear that making people laugh is a mitzvah, and אני ממש שמח to do this mitzvah. But I have to say that more than a mitzvah, it's also a mission. Like now when I go on stage, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do my job, but I'm going to make people laugh, and that's my mission. I'm going to make them happy. I'm going to give them joy, simcha.
When you are on stage, even in a little cafe or in a big theater like the Olympia in Paris or so on and so forth, you have the feeling of the people.
Oh, yeah.
You understand if it's a good night or less good night, and then you change. How is it?
That's endless craft. Like I could do a joke one night, it's good, but not as good as last night. And tomorrow night, I'm going to change one word. The day after, I'm going to change just one, I swear, not exaggerating, maybe stop here, breathe, and then boom, give the punchline. And it changes every night. This is my passion. I swear this is my passion. Like after 2 months of vacation, which is too much, I looked this morning at my jokes and I was like, oh shit, I don't need that. I'm going to cut that. Because you think, and our craft, our job as comedians is to cut the fat and go to the point, and make people laugh harder and harder and be pure. This is what I'm working on.
And before leaving you, tell me, who are the comedians that make you laugh the most?
Again, Jerry Seinfeld is number one on the planet. And I would say Charlie Chaplin made my childhood happier. My first movie ever was in Morocco. I was 5 or 6 years old, and my dad took me to see The Kid of Charlie Chaplin. And let me give an homage to a wonderful comedic actor in France that I love, is Louis de Funès. And I love sharing this with my kids, Louis de Funès, because he is such a powerful character and such a monster of comedy. I love him. And you make me laugh too, but for other reasons.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you
so much. Thank you so much.
Powered by Dr. Podcast, your audio factory, turning ideas into a signature sound.